Right on the equator line, crisscrossed by the Andes mountain range, Ecuador enjoys a privileged location on this planet. It's a South American country which limits with the Pacific Ocean by the west, by the north with Colombia, and by the south and east with Peru. In this country, four different worlds live together: the Andes Mountains, the Green Pacific Coast, the Amazon Basin, and the Galapagos Islands, which are located 100 kilometers far away from the continent. The three most important cities in Ecuador are the capital Quito, Cuenca, and Guayaquil. Quito, the first city to be declared Cultural Heritage of Humankind, showcases its splendid colonial past alongside its modern cosmopolitan present. Cuenca, also Heritage of Humanity, keeps its Spanish legacy vibrantly alive in its streets, churches, and plaza squares. Guayaquil, a vigorous metropolis, combines its harbor atmosphere with cutting-edge urban development. In these diverse sites, people have developed, with an ancient indigenous tradition blended with the blood and essence of Spain. This bountiful land and sea emits the good cheer of folk culture festivals, markets, and a passion for living. Ecuador's population is 16,298,217 inhabitants according to the last census in 2015. The majority of Ecuadorians are between 22 and 25 years old. The official language in Ecuador is Spanish. However, for some indigenous villages, its principal idioms are Quechua, Shuar, Safiki, and other ancient languages. According to the statistics, the 94% of inhabitants speak Spanish, the 4.8% speaks at the same time Spanish and other native language, and the 1.1% speaks only a native language. Faith is also important in Ecuador. As much as the 84.5% are Catholics, the 12.5% profess other religion, and just 0.2% are atheists. Ecuador is a democratic country. Nowadays, it's governed by its president, Rafael Correa, who has been re-elected twice. His first period was taken in 2007, then 2009, and the last one was on 2013. But this last period of government finishes on 2017. Consequently, Ecuador's political situation the next year is uncertain. About its international relations, we can say that Ecuador keeps good communication with many countries in the world because of its trade agreements. Ecuador belongs to the World Trade Organization, the Andean Community, the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, the Mercosur, and the Latin American and Caribbean Economic System. The economy in Ecuador is based on its official currency, the American dollar, which was adopted in 2000 by the President Jamil Mahuad, replacing the sucre ecuatoriano. Its gross domestic product on 2015 was $98,828 million according to the International Monetary Fund. Also, its GDP per capita in the same year was $6,248.2 Talking about the economic sectors in Ecuador, the most important for its economy according to the Central Bank of Ecuador are the manufacturing sector with 11.7%, then the commerce industry with 10.7%, the construction industry with 10.2%, and the petroleum and mines industry with 10% of Ecuador's GDP. Despite this, the service sector, specifically talking about lodging and food service, has increased its percentage participation of GDP from 2013 to 2014, being actually the 6.7% of Ecuador's economy. According to the National Strategy for the Change of the Ecuadorian Government Productive Matrix, there are 14 principal sectors in where the economic impulse will be focused during the next year. So let's talk about the 4 more important industries for invest in Ecuador. Agricultural activity. The agriculture has been practiced since the beginning of humanity. This has suffered a lot of changes over the time. Nowadays, agriculture as a way of production is focused in 2 different ways. The first as a way of life, and the second as a way to obtain money from an economic point of view. In this perspective, Ecuador is one of the most important countries exporting bananas, fresh roses, and shrimps. Oil sector. The richness generated by the oil sector is given to the Ecuadorian state by 2 ways. First, the revenues generated from direct sales of crude oil and derivatives by Petroecuador, both internally and externally. Second, the royalties of private oil companies that comes from the barrels of oil or cash. The government received $2,100 million from the oil sector in 2004, in which it represented 26% of the total earnings. In fact, there are a lot of decisions that should be taken in the oil sector, but all of them must be focused on one important thing: the most efficient way to use the oil that Ecuador has. Infrastructure. This sector offered the past years a lot of opportunities in civil works such as roads and railways. Nevertheless, the present adversities indicate an important reduction of public investment that would be solved with multilateral funds in main projects as public schools and power distribution networks. However, there are major projects in the sector of water treatment and sanitation, where an investment of nearly 5,000 billion is estimated to 2020. Both here and in the treatment of waste, implementation will depend on the success of the new legal framework that regulates the public-private partnership. Tourism. Ecuador is a country with a vast and unique natural and cultural wealth. The diversity of its 4 regions has resulted in hundreds of thousands of species of flora and fauna. It has about 1,640 kinds of birds. The species of butterflies line the 4,500. Also, Ecuador has 345 reptiles, 358 amphibians, and 258 mammals, among others. Ecuador is considered one of the 17 countries where the greatest biodiversity is concentrated, and is the largest country in the world biodiversity per square kilometers. Most of flora and fauna live in 26 protected areas by the state. It also offers historical attractions such as Quito, food, and a variety of cultures and traditions. This sector has been promoted by the government since 2013, so much so that the number of tourists in Ecuador has increased considerably. Also, Ecuador is planning to invest and promotes even more this sector with a lot of benefits for investors. According to the Organic Code of Production, Trade and Investment, foreign investors will enjoy a variety of benefits, such as 10-point reduction in the rate of income tax for investment in productive assets, exemption from the minimum deposit of income tax payment during 5 years, exemption from the tax remittance fee for external payments on foreign loans, and others. All you need is Ecuador. Invest here.